When Google was first launched, it went to a lot of investors, but it had only a single web page, whereas its competitor, Yahoo, had all sorts of different things, from weather to astrology, in its own page, and the investor asked, "You should get more features into your homepage for us to come in and invest in you." But Google stick to its fundamentals, and we know where its competitor is today and where it is today. Hello everyone, I'm Rupam, founder and CEO of Aculi Labs Private Limited, creator of Lifers, and author of the book Zero to Plus Minus Equal to, a book for the startups, early stage startups. And I'm also innovator of PIO, Public Angel Investment offer for private placement, which enables even a small retail investor to become public investor in a frugal startup company, profitable startup company with just 10,000 rupees. Welcome you all to episode number 29 of Zero to Plus Minus Equal to, a startups podcast series, educational series to help the young founder, first time founder, to build their startup. And I'm happy to share that from episode number 29, that is from today's episode, this is going to be available both in video as well as in audio. If you are looking for all the other episodes, that is previous 28 episodes, that is available as the audio format, and you can go and check it out in lifers.com podcast. I'll be putting the link in the description below. So welcome you all to episode number 29, the new version of Zero to Plus Minus Equal to, where the topic of our today's episode is how to handle "I need what you don't have" syndrome. I'm pretty sure that a lot of you founders have gone and met different people with your early stage startup products, prototype or MVP, and a lot of people must have given you advices. The advices, for example, for a medical device startup, people say, "Do you have FDA? Do you have clinical trial? Do you have clinical validation? Could you share with me the clinical validation data?" And that happens pretty much with all the fields. Whomsoever user you meet or potential user you meet at the early stage, a lot of user gives you advices. See, if you are building something which somebody really needs, then he is going to use that product right away, irrespective of how beautified or non-beautified that product is. If you go and check in web.archive, web.archive is a history of the websites, and if you look for the first version of the sites of Amazon and Facebook and even LinkedIn, you would not probably be able to correlate with what you are seeing today. So any software product that grows, if you have observed Windows 95, a few of you I'm pretty sure have seen Windows 95. So if you have seen Windows 95 operating system, and when you see the latest Windows operating system, there is no correlation, right? Every system, every software that grows step by step, one after the other, iteration happens, and that's how they grow. That's how Arduino has grown. That's how any scalable system pretty much grows. Amazon started with book delivery, and then they entered into all the different businesses. Even if you go and check the Reddit website, you are not in all likelihood call it a very user friendly or very open website. So understand this, that if you build something which people really want, if you build something which is really solving a massive problem, then users are going to latch onto your solution because they now have something which they never had, and that's your proof, right? So when we built the Lifers ECG device, the very small ECG device. Aculi Lab started with that small LifeUs ECG device, and we went and meet with the doctors. A lot of doctors said that you should go with the clinical validation and then C certification. Then you should go to ICM, or you should do this certification. And there was an opinion of almost a different opinion of all the doctors. Somebody wanted us to work predominantly on heart failure and arterial fibrillation. Somebody wanted us to have 12 bleed because single lead ECG was not really useful. Somebody wanted us to build autonomic nervous system measurement out of the ECG, and so on and so forth. So people had their different opinions and suggestions about how we should go. And the problem was, I went with my team from doctor to doctor, people to people, to try to find that suitable market. And I believe falsely that if I summarize whatever people are suggesting, then it comes down to clinical validation, very well designed product, robustness, usability test, and so on and so forth. And we wasted almost 5 years of our startup in doing what people says. And often that happens. If you go and meet the new potential user and a lot of them repeat the same thing, then you tend to kind of believe that if so many potential customers want certain features, then probably that feature is the one that everybody is looking forward for. When Ford was asked about his car company, Mr. Ford said that if I had asked my customer what they want, my customer would have told me they want a faster horse cart. Nobody would have said a car. So most of the times a customer doesn't know what they want. And if you somehow have understood their problem and if you give something to them, they immediately latch onto that. Now, if you search for mental health online today, or if you search for self-trauma assessment, self-trauma mental health test, you will in all likelihood it'll be suggested to LifeUs website by Google. Most of the mental health, so we have a huge repository of mental health instrument in LifeUs website, self-assessment test. You can assess yourself, you can become more self-aware, you can learn yourself better. A lot of them are not been clinically validated, and those which are not clinically validated are more popular. We also offer metabolic assessment along with the mental health, which nobody else does. So we give cardiometabolic and neurological risk of your mental health condition, and users are happy. They go to site, they take their test, we have therapeutic recommendation, they take those recommendations. So from these two use cases of the same LifeUs product line of Aculi Labs, what do you understand? You understand one important thing. Most of the times, if you really build something which people need and people want badly, because there are mental health, of course, instruments online. Mental health instruments have been built for last almost 50 years. There are repositories, but they don't really explain users much about that condition. They don't offer a very detailed knowledge base. They don't offer a solution, what to be done after you have assessed that, okay, you are high on the narcissistic spectrum, for example. So we brought on that aspect. We help users to not only understand what is their condition, but the detail about those conditions. What could be the risk factor on their health? What could be the other issues? What are the other tests recommended? Which clinician they must meet? And so the entire process is so automated that if you have, if you are kind of thinking that you are greedy, then what is the pathology of that greed and how that can affect your health and all that thing. So users are coming in large number. They are using it without any C certification. They are referring to the other users, and they're improving, they're taking their therapeutics, they're improving, they're sharing their user stories. And so most of the times users do not understand. They look vaguely in the internet for the solution, but they don't really understand what they need. It is you as an entrepreneur who has to identify what exactly they need. Look, if you get a CE certification for your ECG, that is well and good. But your CE certification is not going to help a user to get over his cardiovascular risks. Understand this. There is still a lot of work to be done. So, what is the primary objective of your ECG device if you are building an ECG device? It is to help more number of people to be able to detect their cardiovascular risk at a very early stage. So your focus area should be on that. Your focus area should not be on what doctors are saying. If doctors are saying that you should get a CE certification, if they want that so badly, they would be giving you the money, right, to do the CE certification, but they won't. So the point being that as a startup founder, you'd most often or not meet the early potential customer who'd always suggest you something that you don't have. Because if they show satisfaction to what you have, then they might have to buy it, then they might have to spend money, and everybody is afraid of spending money on new people where the trust is not built. So they often try to suggest you something, advise you something, which makes them feel good, which makes those customers feel good. However, it is not the advice that you went to the customer for. You went to the customer for a business, right? Now, I gave you the problem that early stage customers do not know what they want. Number two, an entrepreneur has to detect those problems and has to solve the problem. Number three, a use case from my own company that once you solve the problem, users don't really bother about CE and FDA. If you are solving their problem, they use your product. And then when there is a significant number of users, then you can think for other certifications and all those things which helps you to go in the next phase. However, when you are a startup founder and you are going to market and everybody is telling you that, okay, you need to do this features in, you need to get this features in, this is really important, then it is very hard for a founder psychologically to not to believe that they are right. When you meet 10 people and all the 10 people tells you that you need certain features and after that only your product is usable, then it is very difficult for the founder not to believe that. So how to overcome that syndrome? Here is a tool you can use, okay, and this tool is going to save your life. This tool is called the experimentation tool. You are not going to believe anybody on the face value, and you are not going to disbelieve anyone based on your opinion. Let me repeat. The tool is very simple. I am not going to believe anyone on the face value, and I am not going to disbelieve anyone just because of my opinion. I am going to do the experiments and I am going to learn what works and what doesn't work. All right, startup is all about experimentation. Startup is all about experimentation. Unless and until you can design those experiments and get real data, assumption hardly works. Every startup starts with a hypothesis, but the objective of the startup is to convert that hypothesis into a solid theory, and theories don't change, okay? And you convert the hypothesis to theory through a set of experimentation. So let me help you understand how to design those experimentation with a use case. When I wrote the book Intimacy Laws for Man, the birth of the local, and I started taking 1 hour of YouTube classes, 1 hour of classes as a teacher. More comfortable with those. So I started taking 1 hour of educational video on how to make relationships better, how to become more intimate with your life. So consider Intimacy Laws for Man as a startup. It's a book. Consider that to be a startup. And a lot of people reached out to me and they said, Rupam, nobody these days has time to look to sit for that 1 hour video and learn from the 1 hour video. You should think about 5 minutes of animated video, make it short and explain it to user in very short and concise manner. That's what people are looking forward for. A lot of people reached out to me and told me this, that your videos are too long. 1 hour, nobody has time to sit and listen to those monologue. I said, okay, all right. That might be the reason why I might not be having enough sales. So let me try out. Now, over the last 1 month, I did not make a single episode on intimacy loss. After a lot of customers reached out to me, potential customer, they did not buy the book. Basically, they reached out to me and then they said that your educational videos must be 5 minutes long. So what I did is I created 0 to plus minus equal to podcast as purely audio podcast. Number one, purely audio podcast. Some of the episodes I kept just 10 to 15 minutes. And most of the other episodes I kept 30 minutes. I also made some 5 minutes of animation with voiceover videos on different subjects, on trauma, on the subjects of relationships, trust, in last 7 days. And then I sat back that let me see what is the result. And then when I compare that my 16 minutes classes on relationship brings more people together, many sits and listen to those classes. They reach out to me and then they write that how they have got benefited. The conversion is always very high. So I'll be sharing the screenshot. Just look into the screenshot of comparison of how a 16 minutes class video fares over the time and how a 5 minutes video fares over the time, how a podcast fares over the time, and how corresponding video series fares. So rather than believing my potential customers here, and changing the complete way of looking for, I divided that suggestion into an experiment. So customer wants me to make 5 minutes video, let me do that. Now some of those changes may not be very high, so you have to completely dump those changes. If a doctor says that he cannot use your device without FDA, so he is saying that come back to me after 5 years, he is not your right customer. So you need to find out a customer who will be using that right away. The doctor who told you that after FDA come back to me, he is not your right customer at that moment. So any suggestion that would take you more than 7 days to implement and execute, just dump them into trash. You don't need them. And all those suggestions that you can incorporate in 7 days, you make a separate experiment out of that, and then you do A/B testing. There is a method called A/B testing. What works? A works good or B works good. Software developers have used this method all the time. So A/B testing methodology has to be implemented in the startup for suggestion. So somebody suggested you that you should have a very simple UI. Launch a separate app with one simple UI and just give yourself 1 month, 7 days to 1 month of time to track the analytics of the first week of maybe a very not so ideal UI with a very neat UI, and you will know the difference. So whatever product you create, if the product is not able to make it to the market, if people are not buying, rather people are giving you advices and suggestions that what you should do, then understand, if people knew how to solve a problem, it would have been them who would have been solving the problem. They wouldn't have been sitting in the advisory position and giving you the suggestion. If somebody knew the shit about the market, if somebody knows about the shit of the customers, if somebody knows about the shit of the problem, it is them who are going to solve those. They're not going to be sitting there waiting for somebody to come with a solution and then pass their judgment on that solution. You would not be doing that, right? You don't have that time to sit and give and pass judgment to what others are doing. So people who are busy with work, people who are really solving a problem, people who are really worried by a problem, they are kind of looking for the solution. So for example, there is a arthritis patient, autoimmunity patient whose spinal cord is affected, and he deals with pain around the clock 24/7. He just cannot even stand up. He is going to look for CE certificate. You think you give any sort of pain reliever, he's going to try out everything. If you can solve his problem, then there are millions of such people in the world, and once you solve their problem, they don't care whether your solution is approved by Ayush Ministry or whom. They are getting benefited. So it is the customer benefit which is your outcome, and customer will tell you whether they are getting benefited or not. So after 7 days to 10 days, short videos of 5 minutes, 60 minutes YouTube video, only 30 minutes audio podcast, only 15-minute audio podcast, both audio and video podcasts today. All the products are live, and I have the data, and I can tell you with confidence today that no, people don't look for 5 minutes of short video. Most serious money spenders are people with growth mindset. People with growth mindset do not like shortcut things. One who wants to solve a problem in his life is not looking for somebody who is giving a shortcut solution, because he has passed through that age. And people who are looking for shortcut solutions are not the one who are looking to spend a lot of money. For them, let's say health, for a normal person, is just everybody remains ill. Stress, everybody is stressful these days. But let's say for Elon Musk, his stress or anxiety is very critical. People at the top who have the responsibility of a lot of people, for them stress is very critical. So when you talk about mental health, it's not same for everyone. A lot of people think, yeah, I did not make it to job, so yeah, maybe it's quite obvious that I could be ill, or I could be frustrated, I could have angry, but people at the top, they cannot afford to be ill, angry, frustrated, irrespective of whether they are getting the result or not. They have to go with the same tenacity every day. So coming back, when you go and meet customers or potential customers, they are not yet your customers because they have not spent you money, and they are suggesting you something rather than buying, understand, tell yourself, they're not my right customers. But still, don't throw away all those advices because you do not know. Somebody could give you good ideas because you are getting those ideas for free. Write them at a place, build a small experiment, and then see the result. Today, if anyone advises me, make the small animation videos, I always have the next finger after my index finger. Same way, as a startup, you are not going to run behind the crow because all of the people that you are seeing are telling you, look, that crow has taken away your ear. You are not supposed to run behind that crow. You're first supposed to see whether you really have your ear or it has taken away by the crow. That's all for today's episode. I hope this is going to save you a lot of misery, because after coming back from each customer's meeting, you might convince yourself that if I do this, I have a business. No, Don't. If you have a business, you don't require anything. And remember the quote, if you have a business, you don't require anything. And if you require anything other than what you have, you don't have a business. That's a wisdom. Follow that. And thank you so much again for investing your emotion, energy, time, and enthusiasm into these episodes. From today onwards, of course, the episode will be available both in the audio format and as well as in the video format, and I'll leave the links in the description below. Also, those of you who are starting founder, please get the ebook 0 to plus minus equal to. We'll have the link in the description below. That's below $5. Just invest $5 on your life and save yourself from a lot of miserable mistakes that the founder makes. That's all for the day. Have a great evening. Have a great journey, and thanks again for making me part of your journey. See you tomorrow.